I've always thought, worst case scenario, if the entire podcast goes to shit, at least there's like a grainy Twitch VOD that I can just be like, you know what? Fuck it. There you go. Have that
pull
instead.
that export as audio and then just yeah.
Just upload the whole thing, visuals and all, just to
Oh, okay.
wherever.
With like the pause of 20 minutes of troubleshooting in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've spoken about this before, but one of the podcasts I used to listen to a long time ago was the Super Best Friend cast before that all like dissolved. And they had so many podcasts that were just like fucked, basically. There's one where the one I've told about on this podcast before was one where just one day they recorded for like 3 hours, but none of it actually recorded. They were like, yeah, sorry, that's just gone. There is no podcast because
It just happens, doesn't it?
yeah,
Sometimes.
what
Yeah.
you're gonna do? You're gonna recreate like 3 hours of conversation, like literally impossible. And another one was when they went to like some conference somewhere, like like Gamescom or something, and they had construction going on outside next to where they were recording from like a hotel room. And the noises are so bad. It's like, why did you even bother? Like,
Like maybe we could fix it in post. Audacity is a crazy piece of software.
Yeah, I remember one of my podcasts I used to listen to. They were like, "Hey, there was construction work going on in our building, so we went to a diner." And they're just eating, and then like midway through the podcast, there's a bunch of like pauses where they're like, the meal's fine, thank you. No, I'm good for drinks, thank you." And it's like, why'd you even bother at that point?
It's kind of like it's really scuffed. So it's like, no, what are you doing? Why'd you bother? But at the same time, I'm kind of like, that's really funny. I respect the just you want just people chatting behind a mic. Fuck it, we're going out to dinner and we're going to record it there because my time is more valuable.
That's the dream. I mean, that's kind of the dream for this, right? Is eventually, it pays to just send us out to dinner somewhere and we can just talk while we're having a nice meal. That's the dream.
Here's just us on a bench in a park drinking a bottle of Lambrini. Just chatting about Diablo 2.
That's where it starts, and it's only up from there. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of
lower middle class British way.
So what happens? Like over time, you keep doing it out and about, but you just go to fancier and fancier places. Just because as you get like more, I don't know, like renowned.
If you start really low though, you can only go up. So if you start in like a crack house,
podcast coming to you live from a crack house.
Oh my god!
I mean, most crack houses I know are pretty upmarket.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, have you seen like rent these days? Shit's expensive.
Cost of living, they can't afford cheap crack houses anymore.
Listen, if there's not black mold all over the wall, it's not a real crack house.
Yeah. If you're not like wheezing halfway through. Like I went in fine and came out with like asthma or something.
Black lung.
Yeah,
black lung. If the only thing you come out of a crack house with is asthma, I'd say count yourself lucky.
Well, I'm not sharing any needles. I'm not an idiot.
Welcome to the crack forecast.
Oh, good stuff. Where do we go from here? Crack, and then what? I need the loot. I made pasta tonight for Erin, and I put. We've been using these
laxatives.
Like really nice chilies. No, we've been using these really nice chili flakes I found in Sainsbury's.
Yeah.
And then the last time we got a delivery, they swapped them out, and I didn't notice, and so they swapped them for ones that were way hotter. So pasta tonight blew my tits off. So I've drunk so much water tonight.
Yeah, burn on the way in, burn on the way out.
It's gonna be a nightmare.
I've had that before, where it's like when I'm cooking dinner or we order something, and Laura and I are both eating the exact same thing, and she's terrible with spice. Like she doesn't hate spicy food, but she's not very good with spice. And we're eating the same thing, and I'm good with spice, and she's absolutely fine, and I'm like on the verge of death. And I'm like, I know I'm better than you at spice. Why am I like on fire?
Like you're getting all competitive with it.
Yeah.
It's like, I know I'm better than you.
It's just like, I'm not like eating big chilies deliberately. She like eats a chili and she's like, oh, this one's fine. I'm like, why is this like messing me up so much more than it's messing you up? That's not fair.
I like to think the weight is just really messing with you.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Just put a load of extras in yours.
We put the Carolina Reaper chili in that, guys, for shits and giggles.
Look at him sweat.
Yeah, what nerd. Look at him like dying over there.
He's trying to keep it together.
You like spicy food, right?
Yeah, you know me. I love the spicy food.
Yeah.
I'll put jalapenos on anything.
That's like cheating, like for flavor. That's like good spice. There's like a line where you cross it and you go from like tasty spice to what the fuck.
I don't want something that's gonna like actively kill me.
Yeah.
But I genuinely will seek out like the spiciest version of food I can get.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna have like one of those crazy like high Scoville sauces or those chips of death challenges.
Yeah. Did you ever go to?
You're not tempted to do a chip of death?
Chip of death, or me, or Matt?
Either of you. Yeah, but
I've done.
I kind of want to. You've done one?
I'm not a chip specifically. I've done one of those like chocolate of death.
Oh, really?
Sounds a lot more tame.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same fucking peppers that are going into it. It's back when we were at uni.
Jockey.
Yeah, back when we were at uni, there was like a beer festival at some point, and there was along with all this beer, they were like, you know, like chocolate and crisps and this, that, and the other, and one of them had like this super stupid spicy chocolate. I tried it, and it's like, okay, obviously it's fucking horrible. It's so hot, but it's like it's kind of delayed, where you eat it, and for like maybe like 30 seconds, you're like Billy Big Bollocks because you're like, this isn't that bad.
Yeah,
and then you just get like punched in the gut. It's like, oh, and you're like, it's just so much saliva and pain, and it's just like, and you're just like, you're at this stall, and the person's like, you knew it was spicy, like, you get a drink over there. Like, they'll sell you a drink. They just look at me like, you idiot.
All the people are out there like, oh, look at this guy embarrassing himself.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
I think the worst experience I've ever had was we went to Chris's, and he was talking about the Sam was there, so he knows the story. They had this like hot wing challenge, and it was like, if you can finish all the hot wings, they're free.
Yeah.
So we went there and we all did this hot wing challenge, and eating them was fine. They were delicious. They were completely fine. We ate all of them. We were like, that was great. Afterwards, it was like, oh, this is a bit there.
Yeah.
Let's get like a milkshake. So we ended up, buying milkshakes and then leaving. So they're would have felt really weird to go in there, literally buy nothing, eat their stuff and leave.
Yeah.
But then the next day, I'm just like, oh, something's wrong. Something's very wrong.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm sat on Chris's like downstairs bathroom, and I'm just like, I'm sat there actively like, I think I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sat there like trying to get the courage to like go and ask Chris's mum to like call an ambulance. And I'm just like, I'm actually gonna die. And then like 10 minutes later, I'm completely fine.
There was a solid point. Matt was genuinely there like, I might die.
That's good though, like accepting death.
Yeah. Did you have any like moments of clarity? Did you like, okay, I gotta go to the gym or something? Like, did you have any?
No, there's no time for that because it's just constant pain.
Yeah.
That's just life.
That's what I'd be worried about. It's not like, you eat something and it's like, oh, it's spicy, you don't touch your eyes, whatever. But like, what does that do to my insides? Isn't that like drinking bleach or something? Like, am I ever going to recover from that?
Yeah, just permanent damage.
If it's this bad to my outsides, well, it's got to be even worse for the inside.
What was that?
Your body will adjust and adapt.
Was it like Dark Souls 1 when you get like petrified or something and your health bar is just perpetually stuck at half forever?
Yeah.
That's you now. You just
a little bit of milk, that's what fixes that.
Yeah, you're permanently for the rest of your life at like 95% life because you ate that food that one time. That's the thing, like you were saying, where it's like, you're sitting there and you're like, oh god, I've got to tell someone, and that's the worst part, where it's like I have to own up. Unless I get better miraculously in the next like few seconds, I've got to be like, yeah, I fucked up. That was too spicy. I've made a mistake. Sam, are you any good with spice?
I like spicy food. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But realistically, like Matt will talk and be like, "Yeah, I want to put jalapenos on stuff," and I'm like, "Get the fuck away from me!"
Or like cornflakes in the morning.
Jalapenos are too much for me, especially to just shove them on everything.
What's your go-to Indian? Because mine's always gonna be a vindaloo.
Oh, vindaloo's really spicy, right?
Yeah, I mean, depending on where you go, they have like the soft vindaloo, which is you go in there, they're like, oh, you're some English guy, you're not going to be able to handle our spice. Is the baby version.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that reminds me of a story. It was an old buddy, and he was like, let's go out for an Indian. I know a really nice place. I go there with my family all the time. It's great. And I was like, oh, yeah, sure, whatever. So it was just me and him. It was like a little mandate we had, just the two of us. It was really nice. He was a good friend, but like he did this thing where he was like, "I'm gonna have what's the one up from Vindaloo? Is it the File?
It's something like I don't know, but
something like that. I can't remember exactly what it's called. Something like that. And he ordered it from the menu. He was like, "I'll have the File, please." And then the guy was like, "Of course, sir." And he was like, "And the real File, come on, like nudge nudge, wait. And then he just like he was eating it and he was just like weeping. He was bright red, tears were just streaming down his face, and I was like, "Are you having a good time?" I'm over here with my like tandoori, like my.
No, I'm not having a fucking good time. Do I look like I'm having a good time?
It looks like I've just like broken up with my husband over there or something. He's just crying. It's curry.
Oh God, don't make a scene, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Eat your phone and let's get out of here.
And I was like, "Yeah, you enjoyed that?" He was like, "It's really good. It's really good."
Yeah, because you just spent like 20 quid on this curry and naan bread. Like you have to at least like pretend it's still good.
Yeah.
Because his mind is stronger than his body. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe that was it.
This is nice, but my body is rejecting this.
Yeah, maybe it was all a psychological thing. Yeah, he was summiting his personal mountain there next to me, and I didn't even know. Yeah,
man was on like a mission.
Yeah.
I like the idea, like his body can't take it, but his mind can, or whatever. Like he's walking on hot coals or something. Like, ignore the pain. It's all a mental battle. If I pretend pain isn't real, then is it even real? Probably not. Oh shit! All right, let's get this podcast on the road. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Game FourCast, weekly gaming podcast, where we all get together and chat about what we've played during the week and all our favorite news stories that we've found. My name is Josh, aka BottlerWorks, and we do have a special guest today. We have Matthew, who goes by Tomatosaurs. As you can probably tell already, Steve's a bit under the weather today. He's not very well. So we got his literal brother to take his spot for the week. It's about as close as you can get. So yeah, we've got Matt, Tomatosaurs, and we have the other usual lot. So we have Olive Meister Will and Sammeh.
Hello.
I really thought you were going to go for we've got a special guest here today, and then just point to like me or Sam again. I really thought you were going to hit that joke.
Physically point.
Keep it going.
Make the joke land even harder by pointing in real life so no one can see or hear. All right, we'll jump straight into some stuff that we've played. I think you and Sam, by you I mean Will, you were talking about how you've got basically like updates on what you've been playing. So I'm gonna kick off first very quickly at a game that's kind of been like everywhere right now, right? I've been playing Hogwarts Legacy, which came out Friday, like 5 days ago. This game, obviously there's like the controversial stuff around its launch and bits like that, but I think like that discussion aside, we've done that a bit before in the past on this podcast.
Yeah.
I want to kind of like objectively just talk about the game, right? And how the game is. Because I think if you were an outsider looking in, you wouldn't even think there's controversy because this game is selling mad numbers, right? It's like doing insanely well. But yeah, I got this. This was my rental game for the week. It came through. I'm playing on PS5. And I gotta say, it's so much better than I thought it was going to be. I'm not sure what I was really expecting, right? But I'm having like a really fun time playing this game. I've seen a few other people in the communities that we like reside in also playing this game, and it seems like people are having a really fun time with it, and it's rightfully so. It's very competently made by a studio that have made basically nothing before this, which is the weirdest bit. Does anyone here know like what they've done before? Because I do, but I want to see if you.
They're called Avalanche, aren't they? And aren't they like a Warner Bros. Licensed game house or something?
Yes.
Don't they make they get lumped with like movie tie-ins and stuff?
There's an Avalanche something else that also made games, and they made
Just Cause.
They make Just Cause and other games where you're like, okay, no, that's fair. That open world game, Just Cause, that makes sense to go. It's not them. It's they make, like you say, they make like licensed stuff. I think they made like Cars 3, Disney Infinity, a bunch of other like just random Disney offshoots, and now they've gone from that to possibly like one of the world's biggest franchises in an open world game.
Yeah,
It's such a mad jump. But yeah, they've done a really good job with this game. What I've got to say is, I kind of didn't realize how nostalgic I was for this sort of world until I started playing, because I've always kind of been like, yeah, Harry Potter, that's cool, whatever, da da da. But then, like, playing this, it kind of brought back a lot of memories. Because obviously, growing up, I think we're all like roughly the same age, right? Like,
yeah,
kind of grew up with like the movies and the books.
Yeah, same. Yeah. I loved the books when I was a kid.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like, oh yeah, I remember this, or I remember that, or this is cool to go explore this and that. And it was oddly like nostalgic in that way that I didn't realize I was nostalgic for. I'm not like as heavy with it as Lord of the Rings. I think I get a lot more out of Lord of the Rings, because that's also kind of at the same time, right? As I was growing up, there's like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings side by side, it felt like.
So I'm almost the opposite, I think. I think I was a lot more into Harry Potter as a kid.
Yeah.
And like this game coming out, I was like, this looks amazing. This is exactly like for me. This is an open world, story based, like be a student in Hogwarts game.
Yeah.
And a lot of people kind of bounced off that idea, being like, oh, I don't want to play a game where I'm in school, or the combat looks kind of a bit weak.
Yeah.
And my argument to that would always be, well, wizard combat is a bit boring.
It's kind of like in a world.
Many epic fight scenes in the original Harry Potter books.
Two dudes stand still at opposite ends of the room and fling things at each other.
Yeah, in scenarios where they can never actually really kill each other.
Yeah.
It's not like they're having a sword fight or something. It's like, to do a spell that kills someone is the worst thing you can do in this universe. So no one here is going to be like doing it. The stakes are never like a death fight. But yeah, like you said, like the setup to this game is I think they do the right thing, which is they start you off in the 5th year as opposed to being like a literal child. And you make your own character. You can choose how you want to do it. I've tried to make my person look like as old as possible. I don't really want to be like a child.
Is that what that was? Because people have been sharing screenshots from their run through all week, and I saw your guy, and I was like, I can't tell who's the student in this. Screenshot
It's like you can try and do as much as you can. Like you can choose like a face that looks obviously more adult than a child's like baby face. There's like voice pitches, so I've made my person have like a deeper voice. I'm trying to make like an adult, basically. I don't want to be a child. But it's really
You're an
cool.
adult learner.
Yeah, I've been held back like 10 years.
Student. Yeah.
But yeah, the story kicks off like really quickly. I won't like spoil too much, but it sets up a bunch of stuff about like you have this world of magic, and there's also ancient magic which kind of lies underneath, and it's really powerful, and it feels kind of fanficky, but I guess it kind of is anyway. I'm not hot on the story part, at least so far, but anyway, it sets up a bunch of stuff, and ultimately within about an hour you end up in Hogwarts. And I think the professor that you're with, this guy called Professor Fig, he literally says, obviously I'm paraphrasing, but he says something along the lines of, remember all that shit that just happened? It was crazy. Forget about that. You're at school now. So like just go like be at school for a bit. And I'm about, I want to say I'm like 8 or 9 hours in.
Right.
But I've only just started to get to the actual open world stuff. I spent so much time just trotting around Hogwarts because it's so dense. Like there's puzzles everywhere. It's basically, I want to say like 70 or 80% unlocked when you first get there, so you can just walk around and do what you want. But yeah, there's little environmental puzzles. There's so many things to see. There's so much detail just gone into this one location that I'm having a blast, just like wandering around and doing that kind of stuff, and slowly working through the side missions and the main story. But yeah, the main story sort of leads you along to, after you do a bit of Hogwarts stuff, it takes you to Hogsmeade, which is like the little like local wizarding town. And that's that's just as dense as, it's not as big, but it's just as dense as Hogwarts. There's so many like shops you can go in, like from the movies where you go into like the joke shops and things like that, and there's all these different locations around there. It's just, I think that's the one thing I really want to hammer in, is that everything just feels so detailed. It's really impressive, and especially if like, again, if you grew up with these sorts of things, it really is. It feels like it's like a love letter to all these locations that people know about, like growing up.
I've got two important questions to you, Josh.
Yeah.
Most important, 'cause you haven't addressed this at all yet.
Yeah.
First off, what did the sorting hat put you in? And what did you pick?
So, okay.
Really, we want to know what perspective we're getting on this game from what kind of student. Yeah.
I have chosen myself to be in Ravenclaw.
Good choice.
I was recommended to be put in Hufflepuff.
You picked something along the lines of like, I want to be friends with everyone, didn't you?
Yeah, Hufflepuff is like like the meme like group where it's like there's Hufflepuff in the corner just like looking dopey, basically, like ooh.
Hufflepuff are just like the friendly, non-aggressive ones.
It's like you have good and evil, basically, like, or brave, which is Gryffindor, cunning and sly, and evil, whatever, which is Slytherin. Ravenclaw is supposed to be intelligent, I think. They're like the smart ones.
Yeah.
And then Hufflepuff are just like the nice guys, the actual nice guys.
The ones that they're like growing weed in their herbology.
Basically, yeah. I think the first person, one of the first students you talk to, she's doing like plant stuff, and she's like, "Oh, I notice it's normally Hufflepuff territory, but yeah, I'm growing some plants." It's like, I'm gonna like, you can grow a plant. No one's gonna tell anyone.
Sorting hat comes and wants a word.
Yeah, I think so yeah, that's wandering around, open world stuff, doing missions. As you mentioned earlier, there's a big element is combat. So you have 4 spells you can have at any one time available to you. So it's like almost like you like pick like a little gear loadout, right? And then combat is kind of your typical. You imagine like a modern day Warner Bros. Open world action game. Triangle to parry, right trigger to do like a quick spell. It's just like you flick your wrist and the little beam, little bullet comes out and you do damage that way.
So like a little Batman-esque kind of ish setup.
Yeah. And then, but what happens? It's all ranged, right? Like no one's punching you.
Yeah.
So what will happen is you get a little warning above your head when someone's about to do a move. So you press triangle and you parry it. But then your spells, you can kind of combo them. So you got ones for like lift someone up, pull them towards you. I've got one that just like shoots fire, which is it's oddly aggressive for like a whimsical game. But like, yeah, it can just set a dude on fire. It's like a shotgun blast, kind of, is how I think of it, because it's only close range. So you can do combos like you chuck them in the air, zap with your quick combo, pull them towards you, zap, set them on fire, and it's like a ton of damage. It's kind of cool. And the spells are grouped as well. So the easiest way I can say it is like certain ones have a yellow background, some have a blue background, stuff like that. And I didn't think much of it until enemies started. When they use their own shields, their shields will be yellow, or their shields will be blue, or their shields will be red, and it's like, oh, okay.
Right.
That's where a little bit of like thinking comes in. So there's that as well. But it seems like I'm not, again, massively far in, but there's lots of combos, I think, with different spells to like stun them and chuck them around and do things like that. So That's
the weird thing. There's literally a spell that stuns them, right? It's Petrificus Totalis, which is from the movies, right?
Yeah, use it on Neville,
it's just
right?
like,
it falls over.
Yeah, if you just use that on anyone, then you just win.
Yes, it's really weird because it's a really weird design decision with this game. It's not like a massive flaw, but it's really confusing to me. I don't know why it's in there. You start the game with, I think, you get through the tutorial and you have 3 spells. So you have 3 of your 4 loadout, and it says do this button combination, hold R2 and press something, I think it was, or just press right on the D-pad, and you open up your spellbook. And that's where you assign your spells. You can't do it mid-combat, I don't think. I've never tried it, but I assume you can't. You do it like before to like, I guess, like plan, right? But the weird design decision is it shows you every single spell in the game before you've got it. and it just shows them with like a little lock saying you obviously can't use it, but you can hover over it, you can see what it is, and there's a tutorial video that plays for that spell. And
that's weird.
I don't know why they do that. It's like
there's no surprises or
No.
anything. You know exactly what you're getting.
And like
that's a bit weird.
Yeah, a stronger, more stronger person than me would be like, oh, I'm just not gonna like look at it. I'm not gonna bother. But when there's like they're just there, and I can't help myself. And now I'm like, I wish, like, I've just spoiled like a handful of spells that I wish I hadn't.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't get why that's. Maybe it's to show people that the game's more interesting. Like, don't quit, you'll get more. We promise. It's weird because it's not just like a few. It opens a page with like 30 to 40 spells that are all just locked away, and the rate I'm getting them at, they're probably really far in. So it's just like,
I guess that's a holdover from it being one of those, like you said, like a Warner Brothers action game where they always have, it's like, oh, look at the cool stuff you can get if you go down this tree of abilities. I wonder if that's just, and they didn't think about how it's kind of weird that you're a student and you're like, oh yeah, I know how to cast Mega Fireball or something. I just haven't figured out the finer points yet. I haven't figured out the details.
Like a skill tree that you can look further along in. That's it's a page of info, but it's like I can, now that you put it that way, I can kind of see that. But it's like I saw it and they were all there, and it's like I know I'm gonna get like more spells. I just wish they weren't just like shoved in my face like almost straight away.
Weird thing for me as well is in that game you fight a load of just like random, like, I don't know if they're dark wizards, but like, I've seen poachers quite a lot.
Yeah, I've just got to sit with those. Yeah,
and that they'll try and like actively like kill you or hurt you or something, right? They're not like, it feels like they haven't got the kid gloves on, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just sat there like, and this is always going to be in my head whenever it's anything Harry Potter. It's like, why aren't they just like Avada Kedavraing you? Now you're going to say, oh, that's one of those deadly curses. It's one of the worst things you can do. But if you're trying to kill someone anyway, like, just start with that.
Yeah, I like that. Josh was like, just saying, oh, I'm going to lift a guy up, I'm going to zap him, I'm going to set him on fire, I'm going to throw him around the room, and I'm like, I'd rather just be killed.
It's end me. Yeah, it's like you're doing all this stuff like Matt says, like, you're lifting him up, you're doing that, and then the guy just, after he's finally down on the floor, he just walks over and stabs you. Like, fuck it.
Okay, I have a question. It is you're attending a school, right?
Yeah.
So is there any kind of like schedule? Is there any kind of Persona-esque passing of time or anything? Are you going to lessons or?
So you have, again, like, most modern open world games, you have your big yellow icon main story quests, and you have smaller side quests. Side quests tend to be the shit that's perhaps a little bit more boring, but makes you explore the area a bit more, where it's like, go over here and maybe do this. In regards to like schedule and stuff, there's no schedule. You can do stuff when you want, but I have found that I will do something and I'll finish up like a side quest or a main mission, and then suddenly it'll be nighttime. And I don't know. I don't specifically know if there's like a day-night cycle or if me doing things is like advancing time. I honestly don't know. I think it's a bit odd in a few instances, because I've been doing like a side quest, which is just like find a few things that are hidden around. So I've gone and done that, and I've finished it, and it's been like the middle of the night. There's no one around. It's like all the lamps are on. It's like pitch black outside. And the student that gives you the quest, this like fucking 10-year-old, is still in the corridor sitting there. He's like, thanks for finding me things. And it's like, well, you go to bed. Like, what?
So you can basically like show up at Hogwarts, never attend a lesson.
Basically, yeah.
I think go and do your own thing. That's really funny.
There's a lot of the main story stuff, at least at the start. The main story quests are lessons. Because it's like, look, you've turned up. You're 15 years old, but you don't know shit. We're going to teach you how to do, this basic spell. And they kind of hand wave a bunch of stuff that wouldn't normally make sense to get past the fact that you're a 15-year-old that has to learn like baby shit. It's like your 5th year of Hogwarts. I think in the movies when Harry was 5th year, he wasn't even there anymore, right? He was like off doing like gangster shit in the movies, like against Voldemort.
Gangster shit.
It would have been Order of the Phoenix, right?
Yeah, and he's like half in, half out, basically. Whereas this one, you turn up, and they're like, okay, it's your 1st year, you're a 5th year, but you don't know how to do Wingardium Leviosa or some shit, like the easiest one of the first movie. And they hand wave it by being like, who here can show little BottlerWorks how to do it? And everyone in your class is also stupid. They're like, oh, I can't remember. Everyone's like, kind of like, So that's
Ravenclaws in that class.
Yeah, that's how they kind of get around that. And I feel like they do that quite a lot. The fact that you're supposed to be 5th years, but everyone's kind of like, I don't know how to really do this really easy thing, so you better teach us again. It's like, okay, I'd rather this than, you know, be a 1st year that doesn't know how to do anything.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean, we've all been in that class. We've all been in one of those classes, right?
Yeah. You're sitting there.
It's not that no one knows how to do it. It's that no one wants to get up and show them how to do it. No one wants to like do the presentation. They're like,
No, there's always one.
Yeah, it's that situation like you're saying.
Got their like shirt tucked in.
It's the situation where you're sitting there, and the professor. This is real life. Like, you know, teach whatever asks a question, and no one knows the answer. But in your head, you're like, oh god, someone here must know this. Otherwise, it's really awkward. That's what the game is.
You know what's worse is whenever we all went to uni together. What was worse is when we'd have a guest speaker, and then at the end they'd be like, "Any questions?" and nobody would have a question. And then it was just silence.
Please leave now. I want to go home.
Any questions? Can you handle spicy food? What's your favorite spicy food?
So you're enjoying it?
I'm absolutely I'm really loving it. I've had that thing a few times with this, where because it's so massive and daunting, I've had a few times where I've gone to sit down to play it, and it kind of feels exhausting to even start like a session. Does that make sense? Where it's just like, I could play this now for like 2 or 3 hours, or I could just go play like Dead by Daylight or something, which is like 20-minute matches that end up adding up to 3 hours anyway.
When you were describing the lessons, where it's like I can go and do whatever you want, it's open world, kind of come and go, and that you can skip as many lessons as you want, sort of thing. All I could think of was Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Oh shit! Well,
it's literally a game, school, open world, lessons are kind of optional.
Yeah, I think the thing about this is, as I was saying, like, lessons are optional, you just don't go, but it's almost as if, like I said, in the background, something is making time pass. Like, it's nighttime, it's daytime, it's nighttime, something is happening. But when you go to, like, a side mission or a main quest, which is a lesson, the story acts as if, like, you know, you haven't actually missed a lesson. This is your next canonical lesson. They're not like, where have you been for the last week, like picking up random shit around Hogwarts. They're just like, oh yeah, here's your next lesson, blah 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 blah. The one last thing I kind of want to really mention, which I think is really good about this game, is the like fashion and the clothing and everything in this game.
Most important part.
I am not big into those parts of games, like transmog outfits. I usually don't care. But this game, the reason you're seeing a lot of people posting their outfits and things like that is because it's really easy to do in this game. They do it really well. This game has, you know, like gear, right? You have a cloak, you have a hat, you have glasses and things, and all of these things add stats. And as you level up your character by getting XP, you can find and wear better stuff. But what they do is you have, for every gear slot, you have what you're wearing, and you have a transmog slot, transmog being what it looks like. And whenever you find any piece of gear, the look of that gear is added to the transmog section forever.
Oh, I love that.
So you find a new pair of glasses, these glasses have worse stats or better stats, I don't care. It doesn't matter. If you sell those glasses for cash, if you do anything with them, you forever keep the transmog just below it. So at any point, you can look like anything you found at any point in the game, and it is amazing. That's how transmog should be.
I never knew that was a thing, because I've been watching my friend Chris play it. And
Yeah.
I've just been like, oh, well, Chris is wearing the best stuff because he just sort of has the biggest numbers on it.
Yeah.
And that's making him look ridiculous. And just all immersion is completely gone. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, he's opting into this because he has a transmog slot.
Yeah.
When I was watching it, I was like, oh, man, he's been playing the game for like an hour. He's just got to Hogwarts. And it's like, he's got a crazy hat on, this scarf going down to his ass. His robes are different colored, like neon lights and shit glowing on him. And I'm just like, this is the most immersion breaking shit.
Yeah.
The rest of the game like goes out of its way to immerse you as much as physically possible.
Yeah.
It's like you were saying, everything's so dense, all the characters have like a lot to say. The world and the school is so big and there's just so much to explore.
Yeah.
But then like you go into a cutscene, you just see your custom character there with his spooky lizard glasses on.
Yeah, there's so much like there are so many weird pieces of clothing. I'm like, that looks ridiculous, but it's like I know I'm going to get some use out of this. I'm going to be bored one session playing this. I'm going to be like, you know what? Yeah, put the fucking stupid lizard eyes glasses on. Fuck it. Let's go crazy. Let's do some weird shit for half an hour. And I think it's great. It's so quick and easy to do, and there's no restrictions. And I think the side effect of that is what you're seeing in a few sort of discords we reside in and online. People are just posting their outfits just because it's so easy to do. I think
the wizard drip threads in my Discord have been fantastic to look through. I'm shocked because like I don't think of the Harry, the when you think back to the films, like I'm never like, oh, those were some stylish uniforms those guys had, but like everything people are posting there, I'm like, fucking damn.
It's like the final
these guys look sick.
The final movies, they're all wearing t-shirts and jeans. Like
yeah.
But I think again it goes to the attention to detail in this game, I think, where it's like the people that are making this game obviously clearly love the universe as well, and it's taking what is established and like kind of taking the threads and pulling the threads and seeing, where it leads you, what kind of cool thematical outfits can we make that fit this world and things like that. It's just been an absolute blast. I've gone through like I think 4 different outfits, like transmog outfits, whilst I've been playing so far. Like I started the game and I rocked just my like undergarments, my pajamas, because that was funny for half an hour. I then went to like just wearing absolute worst thing I had to look utterly stupid, which was the getting bullied arc. It's like there's no way this kid's walking around without getting like comments thrown at him for being stupid. Then I had there was a very minor like Peaky Blinders arc. I got like a flat cap and some like overalls on. So I'm going around pretending I'm like Thomas Shelby or some shit. And then there's the current one I am, which is I posted in your Discord, which is like the evil oil baron tycoon, which is top hat, all black gloves, thick black glasses. I just look like an evil oil baron. It's one of the best parts of the game, honestly, and it's something I never thought I would be into, but apparently if it's easy and accessible, I'm like all over it. Like I love it.
Yeah.
Because I think of like
I will grind games an embarrassingly long. Like I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey for way longer than I probably should have, just because that game is exactly the same. The second you get a bit of gear, it's like in the vault, and now I can just put together whatever outfit I want, and that game was the same. It had a really good good gear grind.
I think of I think it's Final Fantasy 14 has a transmog system, but it's like I don't think it's hard to do, but it involves like certain crystals, and you have to do certain things to put certain things in. It's just like as soon as you make it anything harder than instant, I'm like I can't be bothered. I'd rather just I'll wear my min-max armor. Like I don't care, it's fine. But if it's there, I'm like sure, I'll just drag and drop. It's fine. So yeah, I'm still playing this. Like I said, I'm like 8-9 hours in, which is not a lot at all for a game like this.
I've heard it's a long one. It's a very long game.
You look at Hogwarts and look at the map for Hogwarts, and you're like, "Whoa, this is really dense." And then you can go to Hogsmeade, and you're like, "Whoa, this is also really dense." And it's like, "Oh yeah, whilst we're here on the map screen, press this button to zoom out." And you're like, "Okay," and you zoom out, and the map's fucking huge.
Yeah,
I'm like, Elden Ring moment.
Literally, it's just like, oh my god, it's massive, it's enormous, and then the tutorial is like go to different places to do dungeons and things. I'm like, what the fuck is this game? Like, it's massive. So it's going to be a long one for me, considering I play like half an hour's worth of games that aren't RuneScape a week. It's going to be a long one. That's everything I have to say about that. I've rambled for ages, but
Well, that's really annoying
very
that
good.
that's actually really good.
Yeah.
Because this is like the first big game in a year of big games, right? And I
Yeah.
was kind of hoping like, well, if a couple of them are duds, we could get through it. But
There's
damn,
I
I have
have
to play Hogwarts Legacy at some point.
as I mentioned, I rent all my games, right? And I am now actively taking stuff that's coming out off that list because there is literally too much to play that is coming out right now. It's there's Hogwarts Legacy. You've got there's a new. I know it's not for many people here, but there's a new Rhythm Final Fantasy game just come out.
Yeah.
Rhythm.
Yeah, and that's just reviewing insanely well. So I was like, oh, for God's sake! And then Atomic Heart comes out in a week.
That does look good.
What's the other? What's the EA Monster Hunter game?
Wild Hearts.
Wild Hearts. Previews for that are coming out. People were saying like, "This is really good." I'm like, "Oh fuck!" Like another Monster Hunter game. It's like 80 hours as well.
Yeah.
Nintendo just go like Nintendo see 6 games coming out all at once, and they're like, "Yeah, we can stealth drop Metroid Prime remake right here." Why? It's like, oh god, there's just
What's hitting the chopping block then?
basically everything I just mentioned right now.
You don't play any of those games?
I'll play them, just I can't play them on release. I've still got Bayo 3 sitting in the Switch getting dust. Will's going to talk about Hi-Fi Rush shortly, which is just sitting there half done on my high. It's like, Christ, I need to start like narrowing down, I think, what I'm playing.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'm going to have like 10 games that are all with save files of an hour and a half that just never get finished. And then there's also, I'll mention it in a bit because it's it's a news story, but there's another game that I'm like, yeah, I could start those. I never played those. It's like, no, stop. You don't need new things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit much at the minute, but you know, it's a weird problem to have. Like too many games, right? It's a really, cause it's not really a problem. It's a good thing.
2024 will roll around and have nothing.
It's like hopefully we'll have a drought for a bit because that'll give me time to catch up. I think outside of this big burst, all I can see that's coming out at least in like March is Resident Evil 4 remake.
That's a pretty big one though.
It's
just a little Resident Evil game. Yeah, no biggie.
It's big, but it's end of March, and it's like unless they decide to add like 20 hours of new content, it's like 13 hours long.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Plus I know the original like back to front, so I can probably like race through it. Not that I want to, but I'm not going to be stuck or anything. But yeah. So outside of all those games, did you like Matt? You're the new lovely special guest here. Did you have anything that you've been playing that you wanted to talk about? Or I don't want to put you on the spot, but is there anything?
I mean, I've been playing a couple of games.
Yeah.
I think Dark and Darker is obviously one that I think everyone
Yeah.
here's been playing, except for you.
Yeah, basically, yeah, it's just me.
But yeah, I don't think there's really much to say about that hasn't already been said. It's really fun. I've been really enjoying the solo mode.
Yeah.
I think the difference between now and the last test was I'm now struggling to find a group of 3. So I spent a lot more time just going in solos because there is a solo map now,
Yeah.
which has been quite fun. Which is something I don't think Will and Sam have really done too much of.
Yeah, you do a lot of like co-op stuff, right?
Yeah, D&D's a multiplayer game for me. It's a hangout with my buds game for me.
Yeah.
Too. I'm not really after the solo experience. I don't think.
Can you party with randoms? Make a 3.
You can. There is a like.
In the sense that you have to invite random people.
Yeah, there's no matchmaking.
Oh, okay, because I was thinking like,
they have like an in-game message board, and you can say like, "Hey, I need
right."
people.
Because you have like the Hunt Showdown thing, which is you can do random matchmaking and be in a 3, or if you want, just go solo into a group match, and that's what I think. Do you think they'll add that to this? Because that could be a cool idea, right? Being like a rat in a trio game.
Oh, you can do solo into trio.
You can do that.
Game.
Okay.
You definitely can. Yeah. You can.
Just can't queue to get 2 guys with you.
Yeah.
Before this test, the only way to play as a less than 3 was to go into trios with just less people. So when I first started playing the game, I think I played like 8 hours of myself as the worst class at the time, just trying to fight teams of 3, and I was like, I'm not having a ton of fun. I almost put the game down because of that.
Yeah,
I do think
it was really fun.
I do think this game struggles with it feels like in a game, like Hunt, for example, Call of Duty, whatever, the time to kill is so low that it feels like you can go in on your own and kind of do work. Whereas in this, if you're going in solo, it's 100% to hide and run away from people. Because it feels like, unless you are, God Gamer, God Gamer, or Dark and Darker, or fully kitted out. Yeah,
if
it's
you
like
get
you're
really
not
good shit, you can one-shot people. But
exactly,
really
you are
good
not
gear.
winning a 1v3 on equal footing in this game under any. There's just no way, because it's like you can't. There's no duking. The movement isn't quick enough or intricate enough. The combat doesn't have enough like depth is the wrong word, because there is some, but
The combat is very simple, right? So it doesn't allow for
It's like an RPG in that it's like a numbers game where if there's a guy running at your face with backup of a healer and a range guy harassing you, it's like you are not winning. You can't do anything about it. Like
the charm of the game is almost how simple it is. You can take a lot of different, very simple mechanics, overlay them on top of each other, and then it's almost that is the depth. Right?
Yeah.
So like just having a couple of different trait choices which can affect your gameplay, then a couple of different gear choices can affect it again, and then your team composition can then affect it yet again. Then even the room you're in, the different traps that are there.
Yeah, it's all about like playing the AI against other players and stuff like that is a big part of the depth.
Well, I've seen like from what I've seen of people playing like all the streams and stuff, it seems like at least for melee classes, swinging is particularly slow and very deliberate. And I guess
it depends on the weapon, but for the most part.
But my mind there goes to say if you're a solo against a 3, if combat is that deliberate and slightly like slow or medium paced, it's like you got to make those hits of yours land. You got to make it work. And if you miss, they're going to get 3 swings at you. And if there's not adequate dodging, it's kind of like that's what encourages, I guess, the whole sort of like, I'm not fighting this. This is ridiculous. I'm getting out of here.
Rather than like dodging, they have different levels of speed, and that's kind of how they get around that sort of thing. So if someone is a faster class than you, a lot of the time they can like put their weapon away and just kind of sprint away from you, and then you'll struggle to like catch them and then swing, because as soon as you start swinging your weapon, you slow down.
Yeah. No, I do need to check this game out at some point. I know it's poor timing because I think it goes away literally today, right?
Yeah, you've got about 5 hours or something.
It was extended to today as well.
I think I said last week that I'll end up probably just buying this when it comes out, and that will be my intro.
Yeah, I'm totally down playing some with you.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out, because I think as well you were all saying last week that it's out sooner than expected. Like I thought this was ages away, but apparently you said like April or something. Maybe
I've heard April.
Yeah.
Is there any confirmation on that, or is that just people?
No, I
don't
think so. That could be wishful thinking. Yeah.
I've also heard people
next
turn around
playtest April, maybe early access in April is the word, but
and
really no one knows.
I feel like a game like this in early access, if it's as good as people, or if it's people having as much fun as they are right now with it, I think it'd be a really fun game to follow through early access, which I don't say a lot about a lot of games. You normally play a game, it's like, oh, I finished it, I wish it wasn't early access, but like a continual, like a slow increments game like this, where it's like every sort of 3-4 months they drop like a new class or something, that could be really fun. Considering that's how most live service games are now anyway, right? Every so often they just drop a new thing. Every 3 months. So
it's interesting to see how much it costs when it actually comes out as well, though.
Yeah,
because this I could easily see this as like a 20 quid game or a 50 quid game.
I could see them banking on this. Like being like, everybody loves our game, and just going way overboard on it.
Don't love it that much.
Like 50 quid. Yeah.
It's funny you say 20 and 50 because my mind went straight to the middle. I was thinking like 35. But like a game like
I guess
this.
we'll see.
I guess we'll see. To the fives, Josh.
You want to play? Do we all want to place some bets now? That could be interesting.
I'll say bets.
Yeah, 35 for me.
34.99.
Son of a bitch.
You reckon? I reckon they'll go. I think they would be stupid to go expensive, and I think they'll drop it for like 15 quid or something.
15?
Yeah, my gut's telling me Will's going to be closer, because I'm still kind of leaning 20.
Yeah.
If 20 feels right, but that might just be because it's still very early.
Where you, Sam?
The 70. Do it.
You could literally say,
yeah.
don't overthink it. You can say any number.
Oh, my gut says 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My gut is 30.
I just think they must be like, we've reached so many people by it being free. We know we're going to lose. It's how many people we're going to lose by charging for it, right?
Yeah.
And I think they would be stupid to price themselves out of being a really successful game, especially because it's multiplayer only and it's going to live and die based on how many people pick it up, right?
Greed is a crazy thing. They could just
true.
we just release it for 50 quid because we had mad Twitch numbers. Why not?
And then just make Dark and Darker 2 and just drop it immediately. Yeah.
Dark and Darker
Genius.
and Darkest.
Or will they do the
Darkest.
Tarkov thing and do like the resets, I guess?
Do a Tarkov
That's
thing and
what
not release it.
And not ever release it. That's what I was going to say. I think it's because at the moment, where it comes out for like a week at a time, there's this really good like it's like Tarkov wipes but on fast forward, right? Because we were seeing it today where people, because it was about to close, everyone we ran into today when I played was just in their like Sunday best, and we were just getting annihilated because you'd get one tapped by a guy, like, and you'd be like, oh, okay, weird, and then you check his gear and it's like, oh, okay, he's played a lot of this play. Fair enough. And it's like, it's going to be interesting to see if this does go into early access that you can just play whenever. Is there going to be enough people sticking around once they've gotten their, they've gone darker, they've gotten their legendary gear and stuff like that? Is there going to be enough there to stick around? Because like once you've done that, it's like, what are we going to do? Just stomp people who don't really know what they're doing? Like
you take all the risk with almost no reward. The reward is like just having fun donking on people, and like, you've already got all the gear, so like, but if you die, you lose all of your good shit. So it's like,
but you'd have so much backup money and gear and resources, wouldn't you? Like it's going to be interesting to see, because I think it's the same problem Tarkov has, where they feel like wipes are almost a necessity, because after a while once everybody has everything, nobody cares about looting or risking their gear anymore, right? Because it doesn't matter to you. So it's like, I wonder if that will hold people's interests, or if they'll put in enough that will cover that.
I think this is it because you see it across so many games. I think it's a fundamental design issue for a lot of games that hasn't actually been fixed.
I agree.
Because a lot of people don't know how to fix it. Ultimately, the fix is you have some sort of loot dump or economic thing that allows you to put stuff into it, and it creates like a feedback loop, right? You're removing stuff from the game for some reason, and that keeps it down. Because there's so many games, like you say, you got describing this game, it might be that. Like Tarkov has the problem, which its solution is wipes. Which wiping is a band-aid fix that people now straight up expect with Tarkov, because it's just like, it's how Tarkov works. When it's like, wiping shouldn't be normal.
It's a weird thing though, because I think wiping is fine and should be normal in a weird way, in the same way that Diablo 3 does their seasons, right? Where everyone gets excited for a new season or like a fresh start of something, like when like World of Warcraft was doing their initial classic servers, and whenever anything like a private server has like a fresh start, people always love fresh starts. Or MMO, whenever a brand new MMO comes out and it's just the fresh start, and everyone loves being there day one, being even with everyone else, being on the same level. That's just really appealing to a lot of people. And then as soon as people do, shoot off into the stratosphere, that's when the more casual players start to fall off a lot of the time. I think they're just like, oh well, I'm no longer on top. So,
but I think there should be, and I completely agree. But my answer would be that I think there needs to be systems in place that are exciting, that put everyone on the same level without completely wiping the game every single time. It's because like Tarkov has all these systems like leveling up, which are kind of in the background that no one ever like really thinks about, and they're kind of, some of them are quite important, but a lot of them are minor. And I've thought like in the past, like, is there any reason why these are getting wiped every time? Like the game gets wiped, because like you can run slightly faster if that's not wiped, but it's like, does that matter as much as like gear? So I think there should be like maybe just like something retained, as opposed to just like literally blank slating the entire game.
It's all it's all going to be different based on who you ask, which I think is the problem. Is there is literally no way to please everyone because if you keep too much, the hardcore people are going to the casual players are going to be still getting destroyed by the hardcore players, right? And if you keep too little, then the hardcore players are going to eventually lose it. Although it hasn't happened with Tarkov, so
I like the idea of keeping cosmetics, but then the collectathon players might also get annoyed by that.
Yeah.
Collectathon players are crazy. We don't worry about them there.
yeah, you'll never make those happy. Yeah.
They just sit in the corner, just vibrating, stinking like coffee and Red Bull.
I think you make I think you're both right, but I think I kind of agree with Josh in that I think it's a problem. Maybe it's not a problem for a lot of people, but I think a lot of people see it as a problem, and I don't think anybody has come up with a good solution to how do you in a game with economies like these, how do you like manage them, you know?
The closest
even stuff like WoW had that kind of problem where people were just after a while money meant nothing in WoW. Like people just had so much of it, and so much of it was in like rotation because of player trading and auction houses and stuff that like gold just became a non-currency in WoW. Basically,
it's nothing. WoW, like gold doesn't really mean anything in WoW at the moment, right? Especially since you can now buy it with real money. But it's a weird one. I feel like people like getting an event, right? And it seems weird to say that a wipe is an event or like a new season is an event, but it's a fixed thing that everyone understands what it is. Everyone can get in on that, and everyone can have a good time then. Whereas I feel like if you don't have that, it's like we were saying about new MMOs coming out, or every WoW does an expansion, right? The beginning of the expansion is the big boom when everyone comes back and plays. Whereas if World of Warcraft didn't do expansions and instead had other ways to kind of progress, but it was never like a specific date where something interesting happens, and I feel like it wouldn't have the same buzz. Like it would just kind of become a bit lukewarm, I guess.
I think one thing you brought up earlier, which I think is a good way of doing these sorts of things, is some sort of like cosmetic currency or something, or like prestige or something, where it's like even if everything's wiped, at least I've got something left over
to show for it. Yeah. That's the Diablo seasonal model does that actually. You're working towards cosmetics in the seasonal model, and then you keep those going forward, but then obviously all character progress is reset, and I quite like that.
Yeah. Well, the only other alternate I can think of is I thought I was being really smart for thinking about this, which I was going to say like in Tarkov, instead of wiping, you introduce like a new area with every update, and that's the new standard place to go to, and everyone's kind of even footing because it's all brand new and you don't know what you're doing. But then I kind of realized I was just explaining expansion
just
packs.
Explained WoW expansion.
And I was like,
good job, Josh.
That's
you should pitch that to Blizzard.
Like, oh wait, hang on, that's already a standard thing as of like 20 years ago. So fuck it if I know.
So there was one other game I wanted to just talk briefly about. It's not something I've played like recently, but it's a game that I know Will played and didn't like very much.
Oh
yes,
and this was Tunic.
Oh, Fox game.
Oh yeah, I bounced off of that. Yeah.
So I didn't catch all of your stream when you were playing it, but I was just curious what made you bounce off of it.
I think it was I can't really remember. It's been a really long time. I remember I really liked finding the manual. I loved that. I just thought the combat wasn't very good. I really did. It felt like I think I had just come off of like
you just come off of Elden Ring, right?
Elden Ring or something, and I wanted a little, light Zelda-y, cute fox exploration game, and I got like Elden Ring again, but from isometric, and like actually kind of harder in some regards.
Yeah, I remember. I
think I remember that as well.
Yeah, I remember.
And I found it more frustrating than it was worth to explore. I don't know. I've always thought I should maybe give it another go, but
I love this game. This is a close second to me for Game of the Year last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
I yours Elden Ring.
I genuinely loved it.
Yeah. Because you love.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that. Which, and I always think, am I wrong, or is it the people?
No,
they're wrong.
I remember you specifically saying on that podcast that you had just finished Elden Ring, already a very hard game, and then you went into this and it was hard again, and you were like, not now. Like,
I
another
think that was the
time.
difference. I gave it a break after Elden Ring
Yeah.
before I jumped into this. But yeah, just for anyone that doesn't know, Tunic is just a really cool game.
Yeah.
It's it kind of looks like Zelda, but it plays kind of more like Dark Souls. It's kind of a mash between the two in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting mechanic is that the game doesn't really tell you how to play at the start. It gives you very basic instructions, and then as you play through, you find the pages to the instruction manual. So as you complete different parts, you'll get different pages which slot in at different places. So it's not like you get it linearly. So you might start off getting one of the middle pages, and then you'll get one of the end pages, and then one of the beginning pages, and then it will kind of go from there. But the instruction manual is, some of it's in English, but a lot of it is in a made-up language that you just can't read. So you have to kind of look at the page, see the images and the icons that are around, and kind of try and infer what they mean, which is a really, really interesting way to do it, because it actually makes you pay attention and want to understand it.
Yeah.
And in a lot of those ways, you have access to a lot of mechanics at the very beginning of the game. You just don't know how to do them because you don't have the
I
manual.
like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so you get the manual at the right page, and it'll be like, oh, if you go up to this symbol and then do this with the combination of buttons, this will happen.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I could have done that from the start. I just didn't know I could do that. So it's this really interesting, cool way of doing it.
Yeah. I was going to say a game that does that as well. That always comes to my mind is there's a puzzle game called The Witness.
Yes.
I'm not going to derail this whole conversation, but it does the same thing. Whereas you can do absolutely everything from the start of the game, but you just don't know. And there are puzzles you'll look at, you'll be like, I can't do this yet. But it's like, no, you can do everything. You just don't know how.
Yeah, you haven't learned how to do it yet.
Yeah.
You haven't found like the intermediate puzzle that kind of teaches you.
And any game that does that, I think that's just so clever because it's so above anything I could ever create or design.
So
There is
the one thing I'll say into that is it's good because it's infrequent.
Yeah.
I remember, especially like the Dark Souls, because I attribute this to similar to like Dark Souls lore. You know, like when it came out and it was like, oh, like if you want the story, you have to go and look for it, right? It's not baby fed to you.
Yeah.
And then, like, I feel like there was just a wave of games which tried to emulate that and do that.
Yeah.
And then it got tiring.
Yeah.
And
I understand that.
it's like, this again is like, it's good as long as it's like one game a year that does it. You know what I mean?
And I get coming off of that, like what Will means by playing it and being like, oh, I don't want this right now. Because sometimes you want to sit down and you just want to be spoon-fed an experience. And you just want something just fun, challenging, but like, I don't want to work my ass off tonight.
Slightly off tangent to that as well. Like Final Fantasy 13 was exactly that for me. I played it and I went, I don't like this game. I don't like the characters in this game.
Yeah.
But by God, it's easy to just walk through this game and just have things just happen.
Yeah.
That's for me, that's the Uncharted games. Where it's like that's the one my brain goes to, where it's like I can turn this on, I can kind of switch off, and I know I'm gonna get a snappy, fun to play, exciting story with really well written characters that I can just zone out. I haven't got to think too much. I can just chill and play this.
Well, my one, I guess, confession about Tunic is I did have to Google one thing. So my playthrough wasn't
pure.
Yeah. So towards the end of the game, there is a secret where in order to do it, you have to go to like almost every page in the manual and then like, I guess, print screen it and then overlay them in just the right way, one of the manual pages tell you how to do this. And then a lot of intersecting lines will like make a maze sort of thing. And you have to like do that. And I was like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I'm going to Google the answer.
Yeah, I get that. It's certain puzzles where you're like, I know what to do for this, but I'm actually just not doing it. I'm going to save myself the 20 minutes of arts and crafts.
Yeah.
I think Fez, I remember Fez doing a lot of stuff like that, where it's like, now go here and here and here and put this together and work out this and draw a map on a bit of paper. And it's like,
I was going to mention Fez. Yeah. Is there anything worse in a game? Because I've had this, I can't remember a good example right now. I know I've played one recently where you solve a puzzle and then it's like done, and then all you have to do is input the solution. But the way you do it is like maybe it's like a platforming puzzle or a maze or something, and you're like, okay, I understand what I have to do, but it's just so tedious to put it in the game. It's like, I just want to fast forward through this and just be like, look, I know what you want me to do. I've solved it. Let's move on.
I've got a really specific one, but it's not one you've played recently. It's Banjo-Kazooie, the original on N64, had a bunch of cheat codes, and to input the cheat code, they'd be really long. I remember, they'd be like sometimes between 10 and 20 characters long. And to do these cheats, you'd go to a specific level, which was Treasure Trove Cove. You'd go to a certain level, certain location. You go inside a sandcastle, and on the floor is a massive grid of characters, like A, B, C, D, da, 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 and you had to individually ground pound every single letter to do the password. And sometimes you'd be like, it could take like, I make it sound worse than it is, but you could spend like a minute or two running around, ground pounding, making sure it's right, and then you can get to the end. It's like, oh no, I didn't do it right because a ground pound halfway through was like slightly collided with the letter next to it, and it's like, oh fuck me. That's
GTA
what I think
perfect
of.
the cheat codes. That's all we need.
Oh yeah,
L1 R1. R1 R2,
L1 R2 R1 R2 up down left right up down something like that. What was your favorite GTA?
That infinite ammo.
I used to do pedestrians have weapons and pedestrians fight in GTA and just watch the carnage.
I fucked my entire GTA 3 playthrough with that, because in that game you can activate like citizens fight and citizens have guns, so the whole game turns into a war zone. It's like something, but then if you save, you can never undo that. So the whole I did that because I was a dumb kid. I did that, I saved. The whole rest of the game was like a war zone, but it never stops you until literally the very last mission, which is like a hostage mission where you have a certain amount of time to rescue someone. But because everyone has weapons in everyone's fight, the two people guarding your hostage just immediately shoot each other and then the hostage, and you cannot complete the game. So I got to the very last mission of GTA 3.
I love it so much. I love it so much.
I know you have to cheat to do that, but I still love that that's an option in the game.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much all I've got to say on Tunic. I would just say, if anyone has any interest in like a Zelda meets Dark Souls, but you're a cute little fox and you kind of want punishing combat but also really cool puzzles, it is a must play. You should definitely hop on that.
There's a lot more going on behind the scenes, right? And I don't know spoilers or anything, but it's a one of those. It's like Fez. It's like a more than meets the eye kind of game.
Yeah.
There's also almost like the exact same description for a game that you just gave, except for the fox bit, is Hyper Light Drifter. Is another very cool game that's cryptic with top-down Dark Soulsy combat. There's lots of games like this. If you like these sorts of things, so
I think I've just reached a point in my life where I really like things being really difficult for like no reason. I'm like, don't just tell me the story. Don't just let me walk through the game. Punish me.
Learning a lot more about you today, Matt.
There's a word for that, Matt.
Well, I can still whatever I want. Don't worry about it.
I've gotten to a point with games in difficulty where I have to be playing a certain type of game to put it on hard modes. Otherwise, I'm just like, fuck it, just casually work my way through this game. Like, if I'm playing Hi-Fi Rush and Bayo 3 on hard, because I know I can do those. I can still do them comfortably with a bit of challenge. Whereas something like Harry Potter or whatever, I'm like, just normal, whatever. We'll play this out.
Yeah, Chris was playing it on hard, and he was just saying how so many of the enemies are just becoming bullet sponges, and it's just like, well, who cares? Like, hard shouldn't just mean bigger health pools. That's just boring.
Yeah.
That's cool then. And so other than that, then, Will, did you want to talk about your thing?
I can do.
Quick top up, because your one was
quick. Well, I finished Hi-Fi Rush. I've mostly played Dark and Darker this week, but I did take the time to finish Hi-Fi Rush, and I don't know what happened, because I was really worried about going back to, it's like a rhythm action game. It's quite demanding in some ways, but for some reason I went back to it, and it was like everything clicked. I was firing on all cylinders, and then the back like 4 or 5 hours of that game
Yeah.
down to the ending are just an absolute like ride. It just never lets its foot off the gas. It just goes from like, because I think we both said like the levels felt, it's not that they were too long, but it felt like
Pacing was
you
a bit
kind
weird.
of got, the pacing was a bit odd. Like you got like, oh, platforming combat, boss fight, and that was kind of, and then it feels like by the end they had nailed like the right balance of combat and platforming. The music just goes absolutely nuts by the end. There's a boss fight to a mech werewolf to a remix of a Mozart symphony, which is one of the coolest things I've seen this year. And that was like, it was like one of the coolest things I've seen this year. Only the third coolest thing I did in that game. You know? So yeah, I'm so glad I finished that, because I was like, I have to finish this now or I will put it down, and it's one of those, I'll never, the prospect of booting up a rhythm action game that I've only half finished and I'm right in the middle of,
dangerous.
and I'll just never go back to it. So yeah, I'm glad I finished it. And it's got a bunch of post-game stuff. There's a challenge tower that I would love to watch you have a go at, Josh, because I am not very good at it.
Yeah.
And I would I would love to see someone like, you know, bit like flex on the game, because it's kind of like a victory lap at that point, right? It's like, oh, you finished it, you beat the hard bosses.
I'll do it for you. I promise you. I will stream it, and you can.
I would love that.
Yeah,
I would love nothing more.
What's the story like in this game? Because obviously you said you finished it, and it's kind of an action rhythm. So I feel like a lot of it's going to be on spectacle and about the music and the actual action itself. Like, does the story kind of lag behind, or does it kind of hold all together?
The story is just completely serviceable to everything else going on, right? I will say the story isn't terribly interesting. It basically outlines it right from the start. That you very quickly you get into a cutscene and it's like, oh, here's the 6 bosses in the game. You will fight them all sequentially, and then when you've done that, that is it. You've completed the game. But while the story isn't like amazing, I think the writing is really like just really pleasant. All the characters are so likable, and no one is like obnoxious, which I think is really, I always bounce off these kind of games, because like when a game is like, we're going to be a funny game, you know, like a Borderlands, or
here we go.
Yeah, what's the other one that kind of looks like this? The Sunset Overdrive, if you remember that game.
Oh,
the
Jesus,
Xbox original. Yeah. And I always end up sort of tuning out after a while, because it's like there's only so many like sarcastic quips I can take before I'm just like bored of it, you know.
It can the winking at the camera can get really old really fast if they're not careful and it's not done right.
Yeah. And I think this strikes a really nice balance of like, hey, we're a video game, and now we're being sincere, and now we're a video game again, you know. And it's like it's just a really fun ride all the way through. So yeah, not fantastic story, but I think the writing more than makes up for it.
Yeah, it'll be so easy. It's like such low hanging fruit for a game like this to be like, look how colorful we are. Isn't that different? Like rhythm in an action game? What the hell? But they don't do that.
Yeah, no, there's no like bit where an army guy, you know, they don't go, oh, look at that brown and beige guy over there. Isn't he lame? Like there's no and then wink at the camera. There's nothing like that. It's just
it's I'll talk about it a bit more in a little bit, but there was, in the lead up to Psychonauts 2, the reveal trailer had them doing like a Call of Duty bit and faking people out and being like, it's not Call of Duty, haha. And it's like, okay. this has been done like 50 times already, this joke.
But I think Sunset Overdrive, I think that did that as well.
Literally, yeah. Where it's just like, we're not in the boring game, haha. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
If you say so. This is just sitting on my hard drive right now. It's not deleted. It will get played. But
you should just go play it. You should just go finish it. It's like 12 hours long. I think my playtime was almost 12 hours on the dot to finish the entire campaign. I'm probably going to go mess around in a bit of the post game, just because when that combat clicks, man, holy shit, you feel so cool.
That's just rhythm games, man. Did you play Metal Hellsinger?
No, I kept meaning
You
to.
should.
I was literally about to bring that game up.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
If you like this, it's like Metal Hellsinger will click even more because it's a first-person shooter.
But I feel like, yes, but I'm not the biggest fan of metal music. Whereas this is all like, it feels like a soundtrack
Yeah,
written for me almost. Like it's like it's like a gym soundtrack that I would make. You know,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's a bit of Nine Inch Nails. There's some Prodigy in there in the end, and it's really cool.
Yeah, because I mentioned when we had the big talk about this last time, which is a lot of the rhythm stuff in Hi-Fi Rush actually helps the game and makes the game easier. Because when you play games like Bayonetta and Devil May Cry, especially at a harder difficulty where a couple of misses will kill you, they're basically like rhythm games anyway. I know they're not, obviously, but like you're doing combos, enemies attack in an obvious pattern that you have to recognize. Because that's what rhythm games are, fundamentally. It's reactions combined with pattern recognition.
Yeah, and I really like that on... because everything is on the beat, like even enemies attacking are all on the beat. As long as you perfect parry or dodge on the beat, you're fairly safe most of the time. Like even against the bosses, it's like if I just tap parry to the beat, I've got, I'm sort of unmovable here. Sometimes bosses will attack off beat, but then that's like, it's like learning an attack from a boss in Dark Souls, right? It's just like, oh, he's winding up. This is the block, like off rhythm bit, which is it's like, it's nice for someone like me who's just not very good, very good at action games like these.
It's things like these conversations always come back around to like fighting games and stuff, but like fighting games and Bayonetta and Devil May Cry and character action games is they have all these moves, all these combos for you to do, but fundamentally, if you can, in action games specifically, like DMC, if you can just dodge and then fight back. You don't just always you just dodge. You don't need big elaborate combos. You can just dodge and then smack them back and then repeat. And everything else is just like flavor, right? But yeah, same thing I always say to people. I think I was talking to Steve a while back about fighting games, where it's like, oh, I can't do all the combos. Got lag. It's like you don't need combos to get out of fucking Silver and Gold League in Street Fighter. Just
when we used to play, I was never doing any combos. I was just I was just doing footsies the entire time and trying to get by with that.
Spacing, and then when they jump at you, smack them out the air. That's it.
I get that, but I do have, and I have this in this game, not as much because I think this game is very generous. One, it's very generous with all the scores it gives you. This game is like
very generous.
Triple S rank, and I'm like, oh, okay, bud, yeah, sure. I'll take it. And two, because it's a story. It's like enough for me that I get through fights, even if I'm fudging some of the moves and stuff. But it still has that thing of like, you'll go in the moves list, and it's like, you can do this combo, and then if you do this specific button combination, you can chain it into this combo, and then if you press this, you can call in a character assist, and my brain just goes like, I'm just gonna press square 4 times. I'm good for that sort of thing. And there is still that like feeling of like you're doing it. Come on, you're doing it wrong. Like
what you're
if someone could teach me fighting games in the language of Dynasty Warriors, I could learn it.
Triangle, square.
Yeah, 100%. You, Sam, you'd be at home in this game. It's all lights into heavies, and then heavies back into lights again. It's great.
I think.
Yeah,
I was going to say something. I was going to say anyway. So you finished this, and you would recommend it, basically.
100%. You should just pay £1 for Game Pass and play through this game. I'm so glad. I finished this 12 hours, has a bunch of post game stuff if you want it, but it's like no microtransactions or there's no open world. Like I'm not grinding for resources or anything. It's just it's like going to the movies, you know. It's just like a nice fun ride all the way through. Yeah, I really miss when big studios made games like this, and I know why they don't, because there's no money in it, but it reminds me of like a time when you could just go into a store and pay 30 quid for a game that lasts 15 hours, and that was all it ever wanted to be, you know.
I think it's just riskier, right, for a company to do this, because there is a world where this game comes out and the story's not quite as good, and the gameplay isn't quite as tight, and it reviews like 7 out of 10, and no one plays it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah.
the line between that and this is so fine, I feel.
Yeah.
And it's easy to chant about this because it went well, but I can see a scenario where it goes horribly wrong.
But I also feel like I play a lot of games these days that are stretching themselves way too thin just because they want they need to keep you in this ecosystem, so you'll look at their in-game store and stuff like that. Like all of the Assassin's Creeds these days are just like, do I need to do this same open world quest over and over again just so I can earn some premium currency to buy a cosmetic for a game that is single player and only I will see it? You know, it's like,
well, every single games as a service. We've just come out of like 3 podcasts in a row where it's like, yep, X has just shut down. Yep, Y has just been cancelled. Like all this random stuff is just like, it's how it is, I guess. We'll move on from this. I understand time's getting on, but Sam, you said you've only played a bit of RuneScape 3 this week. You're deep in that RuneScape hole.
I am. I don't really know what to add apart from my numbers have gone up.
Oh yeah.
You did Monkey Madness, right?
I've been hard questing as well.
Yeah. That's the key way to get.
I'm now at 216 quest points.
216? Oh, I had no frame of reference. What's max quests in that game?
Oh, I ain't got a bloody clue.
Because it's 250 in
I've been
OSRS.
In OSRS, yeah. Those web pages isn't loading for some reason. Don't know why.
So I'll drop a picture for you.
Yeah, drop some stats.
I've done it again where I've got an EXP over like half the skills.
Yeah. Are you getting bored? Or
huh? Oh no.
No, you're still in there.
So what I found out is because I've been working from home is perfect for RuneScape because I don't need to pay attention to RuneScape.
Yeah.
I just need it to be on.
Yeah.
And 2 days ago, I cleaned 10,000 herbs while at work because I'd just click it and then click it again and again, and I'd just keep going back whenever I had a second. And it didn't matter that it's like the most monotonous, like boring crap.
Yeah.
Because I'm at work, I'm in a meeting or I'm doing stuff.
I know what you mean. I've added to that really quickly. There's in old school RuneScape, there's a place called Nightmare Zone, which you can AFK your combat stats.
Yeah.
And you can be AFK for 20 minutes at a time. And then you can like left click and you continue to be AFK and you're training attack or you're training your combat stats the entire time. It's amazing. And I think it was a couple of weeks ago I was working from home and there's a few of us at work that are playing RuneScape. We're all talking about it. And I get a message on Teams and one of my colleagues says, oi oi, just saw you going into Nightmare Zone. And I was like, oh fuck, I've been caught playing RuneScape whilst at work. And then like you sit down and think for a second. I was like, hang on a minute. What are you doing? Also, at Nightmare Zone. He's like, yeah, well, it's fine. Yeah, don't worry about it. But yeah, I know what you mean about the most monotonous things. What you said, it's like a second screen game, right? You just like leave it to do its thing.
So I've got these 10,000 herbs, right? Yeah. And today I've started putting them in potions. So 14 at a time, you have 14 herbs and 14 vials, and you put the herb in the potion.
Yeah.
And there's a double EXP weekend coming up, so I've got 10. I'm gonna have 10,000 potions.
Yeah.
And 10,000 ingredients to go in.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna pop off.
Yeah. Absolutely pop off.
Have you been tempted though by the microtransactions yet?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Not even a little bit.
Every time you complete a quest, you get 2 treasure hunter keys.
Right.
So that's been like giving me all of this like shenanigans that you can microtransaction for. Also, you get 3 dailies every day. If you complete them, you get the microtransaction stuff. Like they give it to you.
There was one day get you hooked.
There was one day where I only had a little bit of time to I was like, yeah, I'll play for like an hour or something. but I have like what I want to do every day down
Yeah.
to a minimum. I've got stuff which is like, oh, you can teleport for free twice a day. So it's like, right, well, I'll teleport there and do a thing there real quick. Go to a bank, teleport there, grab some stuff, bank, cool. 20 seconds, it's done, right? Nice and easy.
Yeah.
But once you get like 10 of those 20 seconds start adding up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm a little bit in the daily hole where I'm doing all this stuff because it's just giving me so much stuff for free, and I'm like, well, it's inefficient not to do it, so I'm gonna do
XP
it.
waste, yeah. It's what you're describing is so much different to old school, and I think everything you're describing is why I really like playing old school, because it doesn't have dailies and double XP weekends and this, that, and the other. It's just, I'm not going to say like, oh, I play the harder version of the game than you, but
it's an older style of game.
it is an older
It's
style.
okay. You can call him a casual. I know you want to.
I think we're opposite in the sense that I feel like you want to see your character get to the end and be like, I've earned this.
Yeah.
I want to get to the end and start just doing stuff kind of as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Like the fact that I don't want to take 300 hours to get there if it can take me 50. You know what I mean?
That's completely fair enough, yeah. I mean, why do it in 50 when it can take you 5 if you just slap down a fat 20 quid and the rest?
Yeah, and the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's we know about it because obviously we're into that sort of scene. But there's a YouTube content creator called Jimmy, with a 1 as the I, and he does RuneScape stuff. And he just put out a video literally yesterday, which is which one should you play, RuneScape 3 or old school RuneScape? That's actually a very funny video. I liked at the end or throughout the video, the theme is just like, don't play either. There are so many good games out there, and don't get addicted to RuneScape. He's like, don't do it, man. Just don't do it. But if you're gonna play one, here are the pros and cons of each one. Yeah, I feel like in old school, I'm constantly on the cusp of doing all the cool shit, but at the same time, it always feels so far away. So I don't blame you for playing RS3. I really don't.
Yeah, it's one of those things where when you're someone who hasn't hit that end game, you start getting into like the 70s or like borderline 80s, and you're like, oh, I'm finally getting to end game, and people at end game look at you and go, oh, so you're still at the start of the game.
Yeah, basically.
it's like, oh.
They're still putting out updates for old school, and a lot of the updates they're doing are end game stuff. And in my brain, end game stuff is what? It's like literally like 1,000 hours in. And I'm like, are you making this for like 10,000 play? Like, are there a lot of people playing? There must be a lot of people playing it, obviously, but it just seems crazy to me that as an outsider looking into old school RuneScape specifically, you can be like, this game gets a shit ton of updates. That's so cool, but you will never see any of them.
Yeah, it's not a new player. Neither of them are new player friendly.
Yeah.
If I had to recommend one of them to someone, I probably would go RuneScape 3.
Always RuneScape 3.
Just because it's got the newest system and it spoon feeds you so much more that you'll probably get somewhere.
Yeah.
Or if you really wanted to get to somewhere, you can get there so much quicker.
Yeah, my like breakdown of which one you should play is really simple, and it's literally, do you play old school or RuneScape 3? It comes down to, did you play RuneScape like 15 years ago as a kid? Have you touched it at any point? If you have, play old school, because you'll have that nostalgia factor. Yeah. If not, then always RuneScape 3, because it's such an easier time.
In the Jimmy video as well, he did specify this, but it's another thing that I think should be mentioned is like, if you don't like the idea of pay to win or like having your achievements feel diminished, because again, there's some people that will play a game like this and they'll play it like single player. They won't give a shit about everyone else that's there, right? They'll just have a great time on their own. But there are going to be other people which are like, man, if pay to win's in this game, I just don't even want to bother, because that's what really turned me off of the MMO arcade back in the day. As soon as I found out there was just loads of pay to win, I was like, well, now my like enthusiasm for the game has plummeted.
Yeah, it's especially with RuneScape 3. Because I play so much old school RuneScape, the idea of microtransactions to buy experience is baffling to me. Not baffling, not the right word. It's like, it's shocking because I grind so much in this fucking game, and the idea that someone could just pay to be much higher is
See, I
annoying.
was the opposite. For stuff like that,
Yeah.
it is pay to win. You can never not defend it, right?
Yeah.
Or sorry, you can never defend it. But at the same time, it's like you don't buy gear. You still have to go out and do everything.
Yeah.
You're just skipping hours spent.
Yeah.
And in a game like RuneScape, where you're expected to spend that much time, I'm like,
yeah.
yes, it is pay to win, but I don't look at it like it's pay to win.
I think
it's more like it's pay to play.
Yeah, I feel like if I was to play,
already pay to play.
if I played RuneScape 3, I could live with it because I'm going into it knowing it's there.
Yeah.
I think the shock would be like if there was an update tomorrow to Old School where they introduced that, then I would be like, fuck no, I would just like leave because I'd be so annoyed.
Is also a good mode if you don't like that sort of thing as well. Because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Iron Men can't do the microtransactions.
You can't.
Yeah, that's in that Jimmy video. Yeah, he mentions how you can't.
Out.
Yeah, RuneScape good. Still heavily addicted. It's great.
I'll get on that train soon.
Oh yeah, because I felt the pull. I want an MMO to fill bars up in. I don't know what.
RuneScape is the game for bar go up.
Yeah, but I don't want to play RuneScape. I really want to get.
I think that's the hardest bit. Is you try and sell it, and it's like, well, why would I?
Well, that's like the entire time when Steve was playing it and he was streaming it. And he was like, "Wait a minute, this is a good game." I was like, "Yes."
Once you're in, but it's so hard.
Oh, maybe I'll give it a go.
Just go play FF14.
Go play FF14.
Oh, so RuneScape as well has like the best like free demo of like any game.
Oh yeah, it's enormous.
Like infinite time. They cut off a load of the content, but you can just play as much as you want, get to whatever level you want.
There's a whole metagame around. No, is that the right word? Metagame. There's a whole game around just being in free to play. How much can you do in free to play?
My old school RuneScape account I have at the moment basically played until it completed free to play, and now it's just waiting for me to member it up.
Yeah.
So like, that's something you can just do. Just play all of the free to play stuff until you're done, and then go, oh, now do I care about membering? And if I don't, then just don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've still, my goal for old school is still just every quest, and then I'll go from there. I'm not going to stop after every quest. It's like saying I'm going to just smoke this much crack, and it's a lot of crack, and then I'll stop.
We talked a lot about crack today, haven't we?
Yeah, this is a very crack-filled episode. Is that Mike was talking about crack houses earlier? Is my house a crack house because I play RuneScape?
Just play RuneScape, yeah. How many burner phones do you have just for RuneScape, Josh?
Too many. Otherwise, it's XP waste. All right, let's get into some news. There's not a whole lot of news this week. There is. I wanted to go through it very quickly, right? But we had everything at the Nintendo Direct that we did watch and live cover. So if you're on the YouTube channel right now, you can watch the Direct, and it's a fun watch. When I was editing that, when I was making the video, listening back to some of it, it is we're funny people, man. It's really funny. Don't want to toot our own horn, but
yeah, you guys are hilarious.
It is really funny. But yeah, here's the showcase. Before we go through it very quickly, because I'm going to skim it, is there anything out of it that you all remember that stands out that you really liked, a really cool announcement? I'll go one at a time. Is there, Sam, anything that you remember from the Nintendo Direct that you were like?
Sam remembers.
I think.
So, I've got to remember its exact name. It was like Deca Police.
Oh yeah, Deca Police. Decap Olis.
Yeah. This was like started out looking like it'd be a visual novel, which is right on my street, and then turned into a JRPG with turn-based combat.
Yeah, it's a cool looking one.
And then it ended. I think this is the one. I hope I'm not mixed up. It ended up looking like a Danganronpa game.
Was
that a different one?
You might be getting two different games mixed up. There's another
game.
Because
there was two that I was really excited for. Yeah.
Well, yeah. People have said that this Direct was really good for like those sorts of games because there was so much.
Great for visual novels.
You had in like one conference. You had this new JRPG. You had that new Danganronpa-ish game. Can't remember the name of it, but you had that. You had the Ghost Trick port coming in hot out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You had Professor Layton is back. He's just back.
Yeah, look at this. It's just turned into an RPG.
Yeah.
And I know it's turn-based because of the top right, and that's all I need.
Yeah, I wasn't hot on this when we were watching it live, but I've watched it a few more times since then. This looks really good. I think this looks solid.
I can't wait for this.
Yeah. All right.
I can't wait to watch you play it.
How about you, Matt? Is there anything that you remember?
Oh, there was a lot of good stuff, and this is coming from because I'm the only person here that doesn't actually have a Switch. If I want to play a Switch game, I've got to get a hold of Steve's.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I was looking for was the new Zelda trailer. But that's because I kind of bounced off Breath of the Wild a little bit. It was really not the Zelda game for me because they took out a lot of the things that I really liked about Zelda. So I was kind of watching this hoping to see some more classic Zelda stuff put in. Like I wanted to see like some dungeons, some items.
Dungeons is the big one that everyone always comes back to. Like where are the dungeons?
But we've seen no signs of that so far, which is making me a little bit weird for it. And then they had the nuts and bolts cars, which was also a bit like, I'm not feeling that.
It's also this. I haven't seen this talked about anywhere, but it's also the same map. Like they've put stuff in the sky, and Steve reckons there's stuff underground, but it's ultimately the same overworld map, which I don't know. The fun of that first game was exploring. I don't know how I feel about.
It depends how
the
much
same map.
I just don't know. I just feel like that we've had. This is official trailer number 2, but there's been other bits here and there. I feel like I still don't know what this game is, and that might be a stupid question. Because duh, it's just Breath of the Wild again. But it's like, is it though? Is there still stuff that they're still not showing? Like 3 months out,
there's gotta be some stuff.
There has to be. Because
I think if they had dungeons to show off, though, wouldn't they have shown it off a little bit? Because one of the two biggest complaints I've seen about Breath of the Wild is where are my dungeons and breakable weapons. And I feel like in some ways the breakable weapon, because I feel like this trailer hints at weapon crafting being a thing. There's a lot of different kind of unique weapons that they've been customized in this. Like for example, what he was just doing there. But also a lot of the enemies have like what look like weapon parts on their bodies. So it looks like you like kill them and then harvest their parts to make the weapons. Because if you like freeze it on any of the enemies, you see a lot of them have like almost a sword sticking out their head or something.
This is an interesting screen. Just like some stuff in the sky with the weird vehicle he's on. I think the two almost like conflicting things, the 2 points that I keep coming back to in my brain are this game looks just like the first game, but with a slightly different map and a bit in the sky. So I'm like, oh, there's not much new stuff going on. But then the second part of me is like, this game's been in development for like 6 years. Like,
what have they been doing?
There has to be something, considering the fact that it's been like 6 years, but also you already had the foundation of the first game to build this off of. So if anything, there should be more than what you can do in just 6 years. So I'm like, I don't know if I'm just like putting on clown makeup, but it's like there has to be something they're not showing here.
Well, there's 2 reasons to not show it in the trailers, right? One is to try and hide it so it's more exciting when you get to play it and it's this surprise. The other one is because there's nothing to show. Those are the 2 options, realistically.
Yeah.
And I think
would be exciting for completely different reasons, right?
the fallout of this game coming out, and it is just like copy paste. Yeah, there's not much new going on. It's kind of in the long haul might be more entertaining than the game having secrets, because the backlash would be huge, right?
I think about it might just be me being a boomer gamer, right? But I just think about the old Zelda games, and I'm just like, I want the dungeons. I want things locked off until I get an item that lets me progress through there. Yeah, like I like backtracking. I like doing all of that.
You're not alone in that, for sure. You see that sentiment echoed everywhere. Like, I think people like Breath of the Wild. Obviously, they like the exploration, but I don't think there's any reason why you can't have like a dungeon bit. Like, like you have what they called the whatever beasts, the wild beasts, tamed beasts, magical beasts that you go inside of. Divine beasts. There we go.
God, those were so terrible as well. I really didn't like them.
They were so close, right? You just turn that into a dungeon. Like,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
that's the other thing. The big argument is we don't want to do dungeons because we don't want to have the traditional dungeon of you get an item in the dungeon and then use that item to traverse the world because we want the world to be completely open. So we want to give Link all of his powers right at the start, so he can go anywhere. Right
that's
from
the
beginning.
problem. Yeah,
but you could just have that dungeon itself have puzzles in it that need that item to be completed, and then just never use that out in the open world. To it's never a requirement in the open world, but it's always an option.
Yeah, it's always more.
And I feel like that's such a simple solution, but they just won't do it, and I don't know why.
Well, you also had they're not dungeons, but you have all the shrines, and the shrines were a way to take the abilities you had, like the stop time, raise ice pillars and stuff, to try and make that more interesting. And I think we got, ultimately, going back to Breath of the Wild, I think you got a couple of mechanics, really good mechanics, spread really thin, as opposed to what a lot of people want, which is, an area of just really dense puzzles based around one thing.
I think it's like I think it's a choice. I liked the shrines. I thought they could have done. I think the problem was a couple of times you would like find a shrine that was like, oh, this is the 5th ice puzzle down in sequence, right? This is the 5th ice puzzle, and it's asking me to do this stuff. And then you'd find a different dungeon that's like, oh, this is the 1st ice puzzle, and it's like, can you make ice? And that's the puzzle. And you're like, well, I've done 9 of these already. It's like, yes, I can make ice.
It's almost like the Elden Ring problem, right? Which is you go into like another catacombs, you're like, oh, it's another catacombs.
Yeah.
Well, how do you dynamically balance a game where the player can literally go anywhere at any point?
Listen, right? They're paid a lot of money
to figure this out.
Well,
but it's like I was saying, I liked those shrines, but I think if it, same map, are they going to just drop 200 odd more shrines into that set? I don't know if I would be up for doing it again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, remember the 999 or whatever Koroks that were around the map?
Koroks that you found.
You wanna do it again?
Oh, they escaped. You got to find them all again.
So a weird parallel to this is nowhere near the same thing. But when they brought out Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin, I bought that and had a fantastic time playing through basically the same game again, just because enemies and items were like completely shuffled and randomized. Well, not randomized, but completely moved around. And it felt like playing a completely new game, despite being basically the exact same game.
I do wonder
it's a really weird experience.
I do wonder if Breath of the Wild has been out for so long that people might have forgotten how good it was. Does that make sense? Like, it's been, like I keep saying, I keep checking around 6 years. I think it's been 6 years. Like, I know Breath of the Wild was really good, but I haven't played it since it launched. So have
I loved parts of this game, right? Like, I don't want to just come out as if like, oh, I hate Breath of the Wild, but like, it didn't have the stuff it innovated on. In my opinion, didn't outweigh the stuff it lost. Like, I still think like the exploration and climbing. I think climbing especially was huge for a game like this.
I think you're seeing that like everywhere now, right? That just you can kind of just climb anything you want, and it's just managed by stamina.
Yeah,
but then they ruined it. Put rain in the game, so I'm just
I mean, that's the whole.
But like, there, you can climb it.
You can climb it. But I think it's like I think what you're saying, Matt, it's like a lot of people I've seen say it's like I loved Breath of the Wild. I don't think it was a very good Zelda game. It's like. It did so many things right, but it just lost a lot of Zelda stuff along the way to those decisions.
It's a shame that the Switch is the all-encompassing console and handheld, because a situation like this used to exist and still does for a lot of games, where you have a console version of a game that's really elaborate, aka Breath of the Wild, and then you delegate the handheld to not smaller experiences, but the more like traditional experiences. Like it's weird to me. It's not weird to me, but it's interesting that on the same hardware, on the Switch, you have both Breath of the Wild and the Link's Awakening remake.
Yeah.
Which are both Zelda games, but Link's Awakening is exactly what Matt wants.
It's one of the best Zelda games ever made.
But I don't think I don't think they'll make a Zelda game like that ever again.
You want the Minish Cap to the
Minish Cap. Give me more Minish Cap.
Wind Waker or whatever it was at the time. I can't really remember, but
I think you might only find experiences like that now in copycats isn't the right word, but it's not a fair word. But
Tunic. Yeah.
I was going to say games like Tunic, stuff like that. That's well, that's unfortunately where you're going to find it now, because they're not going to make Minish Cap 2. Just going to shatter your dreams right now.
Part of me was hoping as well that rather than
weird takeaway from that whole discussion.
Because this is basically Breath of the Wild 2, right? Obviously, that was its working title before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the last time we got same console game made out of the same assets was Majora's Mask, which was a really weird, kooky game that was made in such a small amount of time.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see something like that come out of this, but obviously this is kind of going to the more direct sequel kind of route.
Yeah,
that's what everyone was shouting as soon as this got announced, was Majora's Mask, because it's such an easy, without any knowledge, right? It's such an easy comparison to make.
Yeah,
I don't think it will be like that at all. But it's,
I don't know, nuts and bolts. You tell me.
That's
the cookie part.
I take
it's
it back,
on the way. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll move along from this. But we'll be talking about this again very soon, because it's out very soon. Like May will just rock up before you know it. So, very quickly, anything else, Will, that stands out from Nintendo Direct? Or?
No, not really. I think I'm out on Nintendo, because even I was like, oh, Metroid looks fun. Advance Wars, I'm always down for. Like Breath of the Wild, I'll probably end up buying, but the thought of turning on my stupid Switch and dealing with stick drift and the terrible resolution and frame rate, and I was like, it's like every trailer I was like, this looks great, but
I
gotta put it on my stupid Switch. Yeah.
Not tempted by the Monkey Maraca game?
Samba de Amigo, Party Central.
It has a battle royale mode. Why would you not play this?
Oh my god, does it?
Well, it has a mode where you play with a bunch of other people and the worst person gets like knocked out every round.
Yeah. I was trying to think, like Pikmin 4 is a really easy one for me. But I've got to say, now that, because it was stealth dropped during the conference, I'll try and find it, the Metroid Prime remaster, which I'm pretty sure at this point is people are just accepting like it's a remake. There's so many new assets in this game. The reception and the like average review score hovering around 95% out of 100 is incredible. I'm so glad that it's just like design wise, it still just holds up as an amazing game, because it's been like fucking over 20 years.
We had a 2D Metroid game come out 2 years ago, something like that. And that was received really, really well. People loved that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems like you know that thing where a series is gone for ages and then they bring a game back and it sells loads, and then the people are like, wait, you like this? It's like, yes, obviously. Like, Christ. The same thing, I know we meme about it a lot, but the same thing would happen to Star Fox, and the same thing would happen to F-Zero. If you brought those games back, they would sell. They would sell.
Yeah, just remaster.
They brought Star Fox back.
Lilac Wars on the Switch.
They brought it back with the weird like build your spaceship on your controller thing.
Yeah, but for reals though.
But that's the thing.
But really,
they'll look at the failure of that and go, "Oh, people don't want Star Fox, I guess."
Yeah, I guess.
Just take all the wrong lessons away from it.
Yeah, we took the Star Fox license and made a game that was nothing like what it's from, and people hated it. So clearly, they hate Star Fox. That's.
It's like putting out Skylanders. Skylanders not doing very well, and then being like, "Man, people hate Spyro the Dragon."
That basically happened, didn't it?
Isn't that what happened? Yeah.
Skylanders, I think, did actually quite well when it first came out, and then
it did. It was on the typical Activision plastic crap arc of like they made way too many of them way too quickly, and then it's like I bet there are warehouses full of Skylanders somewhere. Just
it was literally
stacks of them.
It was literally like a multi-million-dollar reaction to Amiibos that fell on its face. I think Spyro is weird as well, because I think Spyro got like all of its original games remade, and then they went nowhere with it. It's
something like Crash, which we actually got a new game.
Yeah, Crash is like, here's a remake of the originals, and then people like it, so here's like new Crash. Whereas Spyro's like remade it. Oh, it sells really well. People really like it, and then just nothing. It's just, I guess not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was Nintendo Direct. Again, there's lots here, but we talk about it all in the video that's on the channel. So you can find that on the YouTube channel. There's a few stories here, but again, another kind of light week for news, really, outside the Nintendo Direct. We'll go through a few quick ones very quickly. Counter-Strike. I thought this was just quite interesting. Counter-Strike Global Offensive just broke its own concurrent user record on Steam.
That's insane.
Do any of you know why? And if you don't know why, can you guess why?
Some kind of major happening at the time.
A skin. It's gonna be my guess.
Katowice.
Sam got it. It got
a new crate. It got a new crate.
New crate. And there's
damn it.
There's an anime M4. That's all you need to know.
Oh, that'll do it. Yeah, that'll do it.
My guess was kind of right then.
Yeah, you weren't far off. Yeah. I don't know if that's the specific reason that one skin, why the anime skin, why it broke all the records, but
yeah, that must be. You don't underestimate the power of weaves, man.
But yeah, so that's just insane. Like Counter-Strike's still on the increase, and it's a fucking loot box release that makes it break records. Insane. Yeah, another one very quickly. Hi-Fi Rush has an Easter egg in it that might be teasing Evil Within 3, which I think is really cool. Because has anyone else here played Evil Within?
Nope. No.
Because they're like
always meant to. Never got around to it.
The Evil Within was, I feel like it was really, well, not really popular, but it was popular in like survival horror section because they were sort of coming out when Resident Evil was dicking around. You know that weird time sort of between 6 and 7, where Resident Evil was kind of shitty.
Yeah.
Even though, like,
hold on.
No, I think in hindsight,
we started liking Resident Evil.
Going back and playing
5 was my on ramp.
Going back and playing 5 and 6, they're actually really good games. But at the time, I think they weren't what people wanted from Resident Evil. It was like you remember that game, that time where Call of Duty was so popular and it felt like every game was trying to be like a grey, brown action game.
Yeah.
These Evil Within 1 and 2 sort of came out around the time when people just, weren't having their survival horror needs fulfilled, which is weird because now we're in a situation where there's more survival horror games than ever that are really good. Like Dead Space and Resident Evil 4 remake and 2 and 3 remake and this, that, and the other. There's so much stuff to play now, along with all the indie stuff on Steam. But yeah, so there's a part of Hi-Fi Rush made by the people that make Evil Within, saying sequel to popular survival horror game franchise announced, which it might just be a stupid little Easter egg, or it could be the Evil Within 3,
cool.
which would be really cool. That's that one. You had Dead Island 2, which is a game that was delayed forever. It's now being released a week early.
That's a really weird one.
That's such a meaningless gesture to release the game that's been delayed for like 20 years. Oh, it's coming out a week early. Good stuff.
All we need now is them to do another announcement in like a month from now, right close to release, saying we actually need that week back. I'm really sorry.
No, it's gonna be they're gonna announce it's gonna come out a week early and then delay it for another 5 years.
No, they don't even delay it. It just doesn't come out and they don't say anything.
It just doesn't come out. Yeah, they don't say it. Yeah.
It's like its release date rolls around and then they put out a statement. It's going to be a week late.
Yeah.
It'll just be out when it was supposed to come out.
All these like reviewing sites like IGN, like emailing the company saying like, "Are we getting a copy?" And you just get like the default out of office email back saying like, "We are not here right now." But yeah,
Dead Island's a weird game in general. I remember playing it, and it didn't feel like it was anything particularly special, but it was a great game to just mess around with some mates. Like I remember we were fighting a boss, and I would just pick up a shovel and throw it at the boss's head, and then like just kick things, and then go and pick up the shovel and just keep throwing it, and that was the entire gameplay experience for me.
Well, I think hasn't Dead Island been almost completely superseded by Dying Light at this point?
Dying Light, yeah.
Which is a really weird situation.
I also there was another game, maybe it was Dying Light, but wasn't there another game that was like basically identical that came out around the same time as Dead Island? Am I thinking? Maybe I'm just thinking of Dying Light again.
You might be thinking of Dying Light. There was Dead Island got like a weird spin-off game. I think that was kind of like it was like Dead Island subtitle.
Yeah,
it was.
Oh yeah, like a weird isometric Mowbray thing, isn't it?
There's also that. I'm not even thinking of that, but there's like a spin-off game, which is there's like a weird isometric thing. I can't remember what it's called, but like let's have a look. Dead Island isometric. Dead Island Epidemic. Yeah.
Yeah. There's Riptide.
Riptide
I
is
think
the
that's the one
one.
you were
Is
talking
the
about.
one I'm talking about, and then
Yeah, I
Epidemic
think
was.
Epidemic is the one I was talking about. I got a key for it on Steam that I just can't do anything with. It's just stuck there now.
Oh god.
Oh shit! I played this game. I remember this game. Yeah.
Is
Oh,
it?
that's so weird. That's like a memory unlocked moment, man.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
But yeah, so Dead Island coming back. I can kind of see this just being like, it's finally here. Oh god, it's so average.
That's what I was thinking. It's like the myth around Dead Island 2 feels bigger than the game will ever be.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna. We've waited so long. There's been so many delays and so many trailers that end up being not real, and then it's gonna come out and be like a solid 7.
Yeah, it's like
everyone will forget about it.
It's like your Duke Nukem Forevers and your Beyond Good and Evil 2 and stuff. It's like I don't actually ever want these games to come out, but I want to forever hear about their development.
At least it is coming out there, right? Unlike something like Star Citizen, which just forever will be.
You're saying
not
that
we can't piss off Star Citizen fans here, Matt. Good lord, there's only 4 of us.
We can take them.
Oh god, they're coming.
That's a hornet's nest I don't want to kick tonight.
And you say Dead Island 2 is coming. This is one of those games. It's like Atomic Heart, right? The game that comes out in 3 days. I will not believe that game is real until it is actually playable. Like I'm not. The rug just comes from underneath you. I'm not falling for it. Not again. That was that one. Last little one. It's more of a shout out than any sort of news. But there is a documentary on YouTube that has just dropped. It's called Psycho Odyssey or Psych Odyssey. It is made by. It's about Psychonauts 2. It's the entire development of Psychonauts 2, which is made by Double Fine. I wouldn't normally talk about something like this, but a documentary already existed before this about their previous game, which was the Double Fine adventure Broken Age. And that documentary resides as, I think, one of my favourite things to do with like game dev that exists as entertainment. I love that series so much. So, Psychonauts 2 was crowdfunded a long time ago now.
Yeah.
And they said they were going to, if you backed, you would get to watch a documentary, like episode by episode, made by the same people as the previous one for Psychonauts 2. And I kind of forgot about it. I just completely forgot it existed. And they have just dumped the entire thing on YouTube. It's 32 episodes long. They vary from 20 minutes to 50 minutes based on what the episode's about. And it is absolutely fascinating if you have any interest in all parts of like game development. So just programming, art, management, producing, sound, and yeah, I'm loving this. Have any of you watched any of these?
No.
First I've heard of them.
I'll have to link it somewhere where you can find it if you want it, because I adore these. I think they're so easy to watch. I know Tim Schafer is a bit like controversial. He's done some stuff in the past people aren't happy with, but he is naturally very funny and charismatic.
Yeah.
And obviously he's in a lot of it as the director of all these games, and even just the staff members, they're all entertaining, and it's just a really good watch.
I really liked the first Psychonauts game. I haven't had a chance to play the second one, but
yeah, so
just really solid game.
Well, I was saying earlier about how I've been looking at another game series that I shouldn't start because there's so much other stuff to play. But these documentaries have started getting to the point now where they start saying like, this documentary will have spoilers for Psychonauts 2. And I'm like, I could go play it. And then I'm like, but then I have to play Psychonauts 1. I could go play that as well. So
Psychonauts 1 isn't a super long game.
I don't think either of them are.
You can get them both done today.
You played Psychonauts 2, right, Will?
Yeah.
No,
I got. It's weird. I got about halfway through it and I bounced off of it, and I can't really remember why, but I wasn't feeling it as much as I thought I would.
Yeah, he's just just there. But yeah, this documentary is just like, it shows them just discussing how they do things, how you would write for media, how you produce art. Just it's crazy.
I remember the last one, for Broken Age as well. It it didn't shy away from like crunch culture and setbacks in the studio, and like the mood of a studio that's had its game delayed or is running into difficulties.
There's a part of that Broken Age one specifically when they announced that they were splitting the game in half, and everyone was like, "Scam! Took 3 million on Kickstarter and ran." They interview all the staff working on it, and they're all just like fucked. They're like they're so down. They talk about how they're just like getting death threats and stuff through their personal emails, and Tim Schafer and some of the higher ups are saying to people like, just don't read news aggregates and stuff like that because the press is just horrific and all like hammering down. And they all it makes you realize that people make games, right? I know it's really like almost silly thing to say, but like these shows really bring out the human side of development. It's just fascinating. So I've just been really loving that. So I highly recommend that. I think even if you're not into game dev, I think it's just a really good watch. It's just entertaining. But yeah, that's literally all the news for the week. So it's kind of odd because now we'd normally have Steve do what's coming out.
What's coming out this week?
What's coming out?
Brilliant.
Thanks, Matt.
Can't wait for that. Anyway.
All right, well...
I could just start like humming if you want. Just sing us off.
Now, what I'm going to say, though, is obviously, thanks for coming on, Matt. It's been really fun having you here. I'm really glad you've been here to do an episode with us.
It's been fun to be here.
Do you want to like plug your thing? You have like your own YouTube and stuff, right?
Yeah. I have a very small YouTube channel which focuses around Yu-Gi-Oh content. It's just Tomato Sauce on YouTube. I have a new series coming out next week starring Sam from the Game FourCast.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Sam didn't clear that.
You fucking kept that quiet. I didn't know that.
Me and Sam play card games all the time, right?
Yeah.
We have done for many, many years.
That's cool,
We
man.
went through card games.
I tune into your Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. I try and watch every one, but I don't always get around to it. But I always it's fun watching you guys play, and I have like no idea what's going on. I love Yu-Gi-Oh so much, but I'm on the outside. It's so hard to follow Yu-Gi-Oh these days.
Yeah, it's one of those, I don't expect any of like you guys to like tune in because I know it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and it's not easy to follow along if you're not already kind of in that scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, we got the new season coming out, which should be fun. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I've got it. The channel is on screen now if you're watching along, but I'll put it like below in all the description and stuff as well. But yeah, I think for now we'll call that a night, and then we'll all head off. So yeah, thank you for listening, everybody. I hope you've all had another good session with us. I've had a really fun time tonight, so I hope you all have listening along. We'll do our socials and bits like that, and then we're going to get out of here. So, as always, same as every week, my name is BottlerWorks, Josh, wrong way around, but whatever. And then we've got Matt's stuff here. But do you have any other socials like Twitter or anything like that, Matt, that you want to?
I mean, I have a Twitter and Twitch, but I don't really use them very much. But it's the same, just Tomato Sauce on both.
That's fine. And then Will.
Hello. You know where to find me.
And Sam.
Wild Hearts is coming out in the week upcoming. There you go.
That's your plug. That's what you're choosing to promote for the week.
Sam voice acted for Wild Hearts. He plays every monster in the game.
I don't even know if I'm going to get it, but it's a Monster Hunter game, so
Yeah, listen out for it. He doesn't change his voice between the monsters either. Every monster sounds the same. It's just Sam making grunts.
Actually, I heard about it and I thought, oh, it's a Monster Hunter clone. Monster Hunter. It's not going to be better than Monster Hunter. And then I saw the trailer and I was like, this might actually be better than Monster Hunter.
Then I saw Sam was in it. I was like, oh, fucking shit, no. All right, catch you later, everybody. Bye.
Goodbye. Bye. Bye.